All right, well, welcome everybody to the Hopkinton Select Board meeting today, Monday, September 26th. First up, we will do points of pride, and I have a couple. I wanted to thank everyone who helped put on the event at Elmbrook on Saturday night. It was really fun. I don't know the laundry list of people. I know there were a ton of people involved. I also know Hopkinton PD and Chief Hennessy in particular, I think was the driving force behind the event, and the Chamber of Commerce. Tons of people contributed, local businesses and volunteers, and it was really fun. So I hope that it's a tradition. And then I also just want to thank everybody who was involved in the election, which feels really long ago now, but it was only less than 2 weeks ago. A ton of people put in time and energy, both visible and behind the scenes, to make sure election day goes smoothly. And we had the added bonus, I guess, of having a surprise audit on election day from the Secretary of State. So that made things interesting. But I know DPW and Neil helped set up for election day. And then on election day, lots of volunteers who help out, including ballot counters, ballot clerks, the greeters, Sue Strickford and George Langwasser, supervisors of the checklist, Jean Lightfoot, Candy Garvin, and Ginny Haynes. They were there all day. And then members of the select board, Stephen had a conflict, but Ken, Thomas, Jeff, myself, there all day. Anna Wells stepped in to be the assistant moderator. And then Carol Harless, the town clerk, and Sarah Pacino, our town moderator. They were there with a few of us until after midnight. And I know Sarah and Carol's night went into the wee hours. So tons of details to get right. And I never really appreciated election day and like the logistics that go into it until I've been part of them. And it really is a lot of work. And, you know, we all sign up for this, but we're super fortunate to have Carol and Sarah sort of leading these elections because they do a great job. They're super diligent and they make sure the day goes smoothly. So tons of gratitude for them and all of you and all the volunteers and everyone who helped out. And of course, everyone who voted both that day and absentee. I think we had pretty good turnout. So all in all, it was a long day, but a very good day.
I think it's beyond that, which I will certainly ditto that, and for the festival on Saturday. I believe Thomas was faxing out things till 2 in the morning.
We got a fax. It's great.
Yes. So
Yep.
thank you for that. I couldn't stay awake. I'd also like to thank Paula and Louise and the Recreation Committee for putting on the Mafia Wedding Dinner event, which was a lot of fun. Hopefully they raised a lot of money. Unfortunately, Jeff's table guessed the murderer. And I'd also like to thank Dan Blanchett and his crew for doing a fair amount of shimming on Cedar Street, which is something that a lot of people that live in that area thank me, even though I had nothing to do with it.
A lot's happened since 2 weeks ago. I had the election fall festival in the street, but also last Thursday night was the Human Service Committee held a volunteer dinner for all the folks that work at the food pantry. They do that down in the basement at the Slusher Center, and they give out meals, and they give out, it's almost 20,000 meals in a year, spread of, if you count the number of people in the family. And so it's nice to go to that. And some of the volunteers have been doing this well over 30 years. Some were brand new. I was sitting with some people that had only done it once. But that is a huge, there's a lot of food insecurity, and that's really a big thing that they do and have been doing for a long time, and kind of do it quietly and tirelessly. It's not only packing, but there are people that drive to the food bank in Manchester. There are people that go and shop at different stores to make sure that there are full meals.
Neil, to take advantage of our food bank, do people have to live in Hopkinton?
That's what it's set up for. Yeah, there are other food banks that other people are going to. And especially thank you to Alicia, who works with that committee and puts that together and helps with the food pantry, certainly determines eligibility.
Neil, anybody else have anything they want to share? All right. So we can go through administrative. First up is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda of September 26, 2022.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, we've got a bunch of minutes here. So first is approval of the public meeting minutes from September 12th, 2022.
So moved.
I wasn't here, so I'm not second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Staying.
Abstain? Okay. All right, so first, in our non-public minutes from September 12th, 2022, session 1.
I'll move and note they're sealed.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Staying.
Okay. Non-public meeting minutes from September 12th, 2022, session 2.
I'll move and note they are also sealed.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Staying.
All right, approval of the public meeting minutes from September 21st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Our approval of non-public meeting minutes from September 21st, 2022, session 1.
I'll move and note they're sealed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and finally, approval of the non-public meeting minutes from September 21st, 2022, session 2.
I'll move that one. Second.
And are you noting whether they're sealed or not, Stephen?
They're
I
sealed.
can't remember. They're sealed. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. Okay, so our public hearing is not for 20 minutes. So first under old business is Boston Post Cane.
Sure, I sent out information on that. We've been trying to find the oldest person. It appears that it is Ann Sims. We have not found anyone else. And the suggestion has been made, which makes a lot of sense. At the end of October, Dial-A-Ride does their annual luncheon. And she was one of the founders of Dial-A-Ride. So it seems like that would be a good place if you're in favor of presenting it to her and are in favor of that being the place. We'll set that up and make that happen. So
That sounds good.
we do have the replica cane, which she receives. We also have the original. So that is good.
All right, great. Okay, so agenda for the joint meeting with the school board is next. So that is our next meeting, right?
Yes. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
I know, you got minutes going.
Regular meet 2 weeks from time.
It is 2 weeks in a day.
Because of the holiday.
Because of the holiday.
Oh,
So this is just sort of a draft. I'm actually meeting with Mike Flynn on Thursday to go through it. So if you have anything
Okay,
you would like to add or change or.
well, I see, are you planning on coming up with some town initiatives, or is that something we should do as a group? Or, I don't remember how we've done it in years past.
I was just gonna make something.
Are there items that people would like to put on here under town initiatives?
Thing that's happening right now. Some years we've done some of the economic development things when those were happening.
Certainly roads is always something that comes up.
Well, and I know last year we talked briefly about George Park and sort of the divide. I don't know if, and that's on there again. So I don't know if people have thoughts on that. I think that sort of, it was raised and then kind of fizzled out. I think maybe Jim actually suggested like a subcommittee or something, and I don't think that happened. So we'll have to inquire with him about that.
If there's going to be a subcommittee, it needs to have a purpose.
Yeah,
And it didn't seem like there was a clear purpose.
yeah.
I think the issue we were having last year was scheduling we resolved. So that was sort of one of the things I know they wanted to do. So we were able to do that separately.
Do we have updates on the fence situation and like where we are in our,
The fence is scheduled to go in, the American fence, and now it's mid-October.
okay, well, that's good.
We're paying for half of that. The school is paying for half of that, the other half.
My memory is that at some of these past ones, we've talked about budget drivers for our respective sort of entities.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that would be a good thing.
I mean, that's covered under budget
Budget
items,
items.
not the initiatives, so.
Well, we could discuss green bags. Your Class 6 road committee, Thomas.
Always up for a green bag discussion.
So those are two things we can put there.
I could put an update on the Houston barn.
Yep, that's a good one.
If there, we don't necessarily have to add things just to add.
Right, right.
And budget drivers, I think probably is for us, largely it's our capital expenses, which we'll see, as well as oil and paving.
Mhm.
We'll also, and we'll be talking about it later, is merit pool.
Okay, so you're meeting with Mike on Thursday, you
On
said?
Thursday.
Okay, so I guess if anyone has anything else they want to add to the agenda and just
Send it over.
email you.
Send out,
Okay.
probably after we meet, we'll send out a draft.
Okay. Yeah, it's raining. Okay. All right, everyone good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we can do new business, 2023 merit pool.
So generally, this is the time of year where you use what we're going to put in the budget, at least initially for merit. This shows basically a box shows the percentage, the cost. A lot of towns are still looking at it. I just sort of the people that attend our local lunch. Limero's going with 6%, Deering with 3 or 4%, Ipswich with 2.5%. Francistown was somewhere between 4 and 8%, and Social Security is at 5.9%. So I think it's all over the place this year.
Is there any way to make that box bigger? I also can't make it bigger on my screen for some reason. Thank you.
What did we do the last couple of years?
So last year was 4, and it had been 3 for a number of years before that.
Did we start at 4 last year? I can't remember. Did we start higher and then?
I think we started higher and it went down.
I think we did too.
Probably what we ended up doing now.
Mhm.
Well, I think 4 was what we initially put in. Left. Sort of the purpose of doing this now is there was a time when it seemed like the budget was being balanced. Staff, because this would be discussed last. So,
Yeah.
not that it doesn't change along the way, but the hope is that it will give us a number to work around.
Yeah.
And salaries are like half to 2/3 of the budget.
No, less than that.
Less than that, less than half.
I don't know if we can hold it, but I would suggest 5%.
I would support that.
I would just note that also, which is different than some places where they're talking about increases, it's increasing the steps. So people are getting steps in. That's not related to the 5%. It's just that this is the total.
Okay. Anyone else on the?
I mean, I would. I mean, it's going to be a discussion, but I would support up to 6. I mean, cost of living adjustments. You said 5.9.
Social security.
Yeah. It seems like that would be like an easy baseline. And I think it seems like a high number, but I mean, it's driven from inflation. So it's not anything less than that is kind of like a cut.
I guess I'm happy to support 6 for now. And then we'll just see how the budget process.
It's just hard to have this discussion without the context of the whole budget.
Yeah.
We had it. Certainly, fuel and heating costs and all those things are double what they were last year, easily. So we looking at what's going to become a 10 or 12 or 15% increase.
That's
And
what we don't know.
Thomas is right, inflation is out of control and the employees are losing purchasing power.
The purpose of this discussion now is to give you a starting point.
Correct.
To give us a starting point to go into the.
And it certainly there have been years where that's been changed.
But as you said, the hope is to not.
And
balance the
I
budget.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would almost say start with 6.5 then. Because I mean, if it gives us wiggle room to come down.
I mean, it sounds great in the abstract. It's really, it's just hard to know where we're going to be at.
I always say that to the department heads. Other budgets always look great when you look at them alone and then you add them up and realize that this isn't going to work.
All right, well, Thomas is 6.5. I agree. I like where your head is. Sounds like Stephen can get behind that. Aspirational.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, are you into our aspirational goal of 6.5?
Yeah, again, I still think it's too early. Just want to pick a number for now. That's fine.
Okay.
So you'd stay at that.
All right, we good to move on to administrator updates, Neil?
Sure. So I've contacted all the abutters to those landlocked properties. There are 7 of them interested. They will be submitting offers which you'll have at your next meeting. Let them know, because it's not sealed bid, you can negotiate later. Hopefully we'll include things there. We have a surveyor.
Wow.
So by the end of October, the very beginning of November, we should have that done.
Is
So
that gonna be for,
thank you, Jeff, for,
oh, is that the guy?
it is,
Oh, okay, good.
yes.
Is that gonna be both the fireside and the base building, or just the base building? Just the fireside, sorry.
Jess, fireside unless you want the base
Okay.
done. As long as we can get that one done.
Yeah.
So
why don't we get the?
we could
building
do
done?
base,
It's taken us so long to find a surveyor,
that, do it in the,
we should just do it.
sure, well, I'll at least schedule it.
Yeah.
So, all right, all the CIP requests were due in last week, so I'm working through those, putting all those together. Budgets are due in 2.5 weeks, so department heads are working on that. The barn stuff is moving forward on the 5th, which is next Wednesday, I believe. The engineer will be there digging pits and around. So they're working on that. The schedule still is for the engineering engineers to do all their work and for construction to be in the spring. Ken noted Cedar Street, some shimming. We actually did some shimming around town, rented a paver, and have had very good response from that. It included Briar Hill and Cedar Street, and some of the really, really bad areas. It isn't a final, it's not a redone, but it certainly holds the roads together. It also makes it easier to plow.
Good.
In general, we're all working on our budgets, and I hate to add them all up.
Oh, thank you, Neil. Questions, Ken?
I've got a number of different updates.
Okay,
I can do that.
yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we still,
We had a budget committee meeting last week, and there was a lot of discussion about, in terms of a budget, to what extent the budget committee should or should not get into micromanaging or staying at the 10,000 foot level or the 100,000 foot level, and mostly aimed at the schools. But one request was made, and I already passed it on to Neil, was 2 years ago, Dan had put together rough estimates for the cost to do all of the roads and culverts in town, to bring them up to snuff, let's say. And the request was made that kind of information could be provided again. And I'm sure there are a number of purposes that make sense. And also it mentioned to Neil that to provide a breakdown of the most recent road bond we had, just what went to different roads and bridges. And another was the number of grants that we've requested, whether it was Ann doing it or the police or the fire, because the schools were pushing that they had gone after, I guess, 8 grants recently. So I'd like to be able to put that kind of information out there also.
mhm.
That was pretty much the gist of the budget committee meeting. At a different item, I believe at a prior presentation, Anna had mentioned that one of the holdbacks on doing the repaving at Gazebo Park was getting granite pavers.
Mhm.
And somebody from the depot told me that they got used ones for free from Weaver Brothers. So I don't know.
That's been looked into.
Oh, okay, all right, I didn't know it. Okay, great. Okay, and I've been talking about putting together an energy or an electric committee for a number of meetings. And I'm at the point where I'm ready to make a motion that we do such a thing. The Jalcar had approved the rules for community power. So that's, one thing. The contract for the hydro dam in downtown Kentucky expires in a year. That's another thing. I also understand that with the latest federal funding bill, that municipalities would be eligible for 30% solar rebate, even though we don't pay taxes. So I think there are a number of things that make sense to have a committee to look into. And I had pulled up the charge that the Bow Select Board had done when they established a Bow Energy Committee, and which I think is too broad for us at this point. But what they had in there, Neil, you don't have to take the notes. I can give this to you. To work with the town government, public entities, and interested parties to identify, study, encourage, and propose changes in current or future energy-related operational procedures or regulatory requirements, to engage the community with the goal of creating a more energy-conscious town of Bow, to identify resources to support the implementation of the committee's goals, and to develop a town energy plan. And the committee would be to consist of 7 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen for staggered 3-year terms. And I would think at this point, we don't necessarily want to engage the community with the goal of creating a more energy conscious town. That might be down the road, or to develop a town energy plan at this point. But I think there are some points here that would make sense for an initial charge. And I talked to a couple of people that do have some regulatory or energy experience that might be interested in serving. So I'd like to take the next step.
So I don't know that I've experienced forming an official committee, and so.
Yeah, I would suggest we put a real charge together,
Okay.
vote on that and establish it. I'm a firm believer of not establishing any committee without a clear charge.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's why I read off what Bow was. So
Yeah.
I figured we'd do that first.
So do you want to work on updating that, and then?
I can do that. I can send it to Neil.
Okay.
We can work with it.
All
Okay.
right. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
My other things are real quick.
Okay, perfect.
I did attend last Friday, the New Hampshire Municipal Association Legislative Policy meeting, and there were representatives from 47 towns and cities. And no surprise, everything that had been worked out in committee was passed heavily. Issues ranging from cannabis and making sure that if something was allowed in the state, that the towns would have a say and would get some share of the revenues. And discussions about New Hampshire retirement and solid waste and the problem of out-of-state solid waste coming into New Hampshire. So there really wasn't anything that I was surprised by or that I thought would be a problem for Hopkinton. I thought it was all, positive things.
Okay, well, thanks for going to that.
Okay, I'll shut up.
That was helpful, and it brought us to exactly 6 o'clock. Thank you, Ken. Okay, so we can now, it's 6 o'clock, officially open the public hearing on amending the speed limit ordinance. Is there anything else? I can't remember last time we did a public hearing. Anything else we need to do besides just open it and then we can go through? Okay. Okay, so I guess if people would like to speak, if you could raise your hand and then sit here because it makes it easier to hear for the 0 people that are online right now, but we do have this on YouTube later, so. Are you here for the speed limit ordinance?
Yeah, because I live.
Oh, okay,
So
so
I mean, I didn't really go on to it with speed, so.
yes, it's a public hearing, so we're here to listen to you.
Here to support it, you've already changed.
Do you want to give your name and
Oh, I'm
address?
sorry. Erin Hodgson, 7 Woodwells Garrison Road.
I'm just gonna move the.
Making myself-
And now, Aaron.
I'm selling something. So anyways, thank you. Yeah, you changed it coming off 103 to Indian Ridge to 25. We're very happy. We have there's a lot of children on that road, and I walk my dog down through the cemetery, a little Tookie and run, and we see people coming up that part of Pennacook, just like it's a highway. And like, and another girl, she was gonna come, just if we could get a line in the middle of it. I mean, people just goes right in the middle, 50 miles an hour, right up that road, especially on Saturday mornings, going to the dump before. So also when I moved into town, that one off 103, I mean, a tractor trailer jackknifed in Barry Botwell's front yard. So that's now a child lives there. So
Mhm.
we need to get that corner to slow down. And I have neighbors that walk, they've had to dive into the side of the road when people come through. It just gets, and then when you do put the, like, it be enforced, that's
Yeah,
all good and well, putting that 25 up there, but if it doesn't get enforced, and I'm welcoming the town of Hopkinton police to sit in my driveway. Because we're right on Woodwell, so it's that first road. So that's
Okay.
all. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you. And this isn't just for Pennacook, although I think maybe that was,
The top of Pennacook down the main street.
yeah,
That's just
but
that.
perfect.
So the proposed change, when you're coming from Gould Hill towards the village, it's where the houses start to drop that to 25. So it would be 25 from there on Pennacook Road to Main Street,
Right,
and Indian Ridge already is 20.
right, okay. But I was just saying that if others live on other roads and are here to speak, we're not just here for Pennacook. It's generally the ordinance. Yes.
Hi, Sarah Matson, Dustin, 517 Dustin Road. So I'd like to ask you to consider going from 35 to 30 on Dustin Road. I have some Dustin Road neighbors here. I know you heard from some of them via email as well. I did want to say it is not related to the bridge closure. The bridge closure has massively increased the number of cars on the road, but I actually think it's slowing them down because there are more of them right now. When the road is less heavily traveled, I also am in the category of having had to jump out of the way of oncoming cars. There's obviously no sidewalk. There's really no shoulder to speak of in most parts, and people just absolutely fly. It's a beautifully maintained road. Good job. But that means that people can just go incredibly fast. And even if it would just get people like going 40 instead of going 45 or 50, it would be a huge improvement. So I hope you'll consider going down to 30.
Yes, I'm David Dustin, 469 Dustin Road. And I would like to echo Sarah's concern. The road, even prior to the bridge closure and the work that has been ongoing there, the road has really become a speedway. And it's, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before someone gets seriously hurt, or perhaps worse, God forbid, trying to walk on that road. And there are plenty of people who do walk on that road. And if you're not well into the right of ways, which sometimes are very angled or uneven, you could very well get injured. And it's remarkable to stand out in my yard and watch the vehicles fly up and down and see a few hapless people struggling to walk the road, either with kids or with dogs.
Mhm. All right, great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ask a question, Neil.
Sure.
That's the red writing there says from 281 Pennacook to Blue Hill. Shouldn't that say to Main Street?
It should say. You can make it from Blue Hill too. That whole corner, no, seriously.
Actually, this is the 30 mph,
I see what
which
you're
already
saying.
was Gould Hill.
Got it.
Right, okay.
So it goes from 35 to 30 and then automatically 20. It's a little confusing in the ordinance.
Right,
Thank you.
I see what you're saying.
But at 281, it will drop to 25, which is the,
All right. Hello.
Hi, Bernice Dustin, 364 Dustin Road. I won't repeat what's already been said. I totally agree with it. Just to let you know that Dustin Road is a crossroad. It's a shortcut from Concord to Route 89. And for that reason, it's heavily traveled. People don't have to go all the way south to Bow and then come up on Route 89. So people come and they go very fast, even in the middle of the night. My husband and I, we've heard a regular person go by at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, I can't even imagine how fast they're going. And if they hit a deer, they're going to be in trouble.
Mhm.
So it's also on a bike route. So we have a lot of bicyclists, and that makes it even more dangerous because people are trying to pass them. And if you're walking on the road, you just don't have a chance.
Mhm.
Sarah's children are my grandchildren, and we just can't have them walking or biking to come up and see us. It's just too dangerous.
Mhm.
And thank you for adding the biking, because I'm one of those.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll take my mask off so you can hear me better. I'm Ernst Biosdorf on Sugar Hill Road. I've been before this board here with the chief complaining about speed on Sugar Hill Road. Again, that's a shortcut and heavily traveled road from Ware. Same scenarios that they are seeing on Dustin Road. And I'm assuming, and I can say it looks like most of Hopkinton is when you see the speed limit. And I travel, I've been passed on the bridge by the farm because I was doing the speed limit. I've been passed on Sugar Hill Road by the Drew Lake. And I actually followed the individual because the chief always said, well, get a license plate number. Can you get whatever it is? I stayed behind him until I got to the stop sign at 202 towards the village. So I get the make of the car and the model and the license plate. And in that process of it, I was doing 60 miles an hour on Sugar Hill Road, past the lake, and my neighbor, Paul Wurzel, and his wife were walking on the road. I've been passed on that same stretch of road. I was the second car in back of another car. I had a trailer on it, and the car in back of me pulled out and passed me on the road. And I follow them up through there. We doing 50, 60 miles an hour. They're not exaggerating. I'm not either, because I've actually followed them with my car. I told that to the chief. I just didn't tell him what I was doing for speed. He didn't want to know on it. And the other thing that we have on, and I brought this up, we used to have a no through trucking sign on Sugar Hill Road. One day I was out there and that I took a count, there was 22 trucks. And I don't mean box trucks, pickup trucks. I mean heavy equipment haulers, logging trucks with tandem loads of logs on it, 53-foot or 51-foot box truck, tractor trailers that are on it. I've had the John Brown logging truck come up through there speeding. I've reported this to the police a number of times. Chief McCarr and I had many discussions about it, and I also have had discussions with our new chief, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with remembering their names, but we've discussed it. And Hennessy, Chief Hennessy. And there's a problem. And really, that somebody is going to get killed. There are bikers on there. These trailers, trucks that are on there is Sugar Hill Road is not designed for that. The chief had said the only way you could stop that is to redesign the road, which is And I don't know whether you ever traveled Sugar Hill Road on it or not, but whatever policies that you folks are doing, it's not working to slow down the speed limit. And by putting a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, unless it's enforced or unless something is done different, it's not going to change the one iota whatsoever on it. And I think there's a broader sense that you folks have to take a look at here to protect our citizens in the state on the road. And
So Sugar Hill is 30. Are you?
yes, it is 30.
Are you, you're not arguing for 25? Oh.
No, not 25, 30. If 35 is, it's not right on it. And these tractor trailers and these trucks, the design of the road is curving. They're in the middle of the road or into the other lane in order just to get their trailer around the corner.
Mhm.
And the speeds that they're doing are not 30 or 35 miles an hour. They're doing 35, 40, 45 miles an hour. So I think there's a bigger situation here that you have to address in our town as far as for the speed limit and what's traveling on our roads.
Mhm.
And we have a tremendous road. Sugar Hill Road is, when I've traveled all the others, is an excellent road on it. But if you look at the Ware side, you're seeing the Ware side is starting to deteriorate, which was rebuilt earlier than Sugar Hill was. And that's my tax dollar that's going into it. Our tax dollars, all of us into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, any other thing just mentioned about it? A new neighbor moved up there. The young boy, the dog got out. The door was in the back was left. They have three young children. Got out, and when they discovered the dog had gotten out, they went looking for the dog, and the young 8 years old found his dog dead in the road on Sugar Hill Road there, and they didn't have the courtesy to stop and talk to the people and let them know that they killed the dog.
Hmm. Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Scott Clay, 1677 Boundtree Road. It says there on Boundtree that it's 35 from Pine Street to Autumn Ridge Road. Now, being that I've lived up there for a long time, that's a very sharp curve before you get to Autumn Ridge. And there has been one death on that curve, somebody that didn't know at night, and they're dead. And I think there ought to be, at a minimum, some kind of a sign that warns that there's this hairpin turn. If you're going to have this 35 limit where everyone's going 40 to 45, and then you get to that curve, and I don't think that curve is really designed for that speed. The other thing I'll say is today driving in, the track team from the high school was running on that road, and they go around that curve. So you've got foot traffic, you've got one fatality already tabulated for that curve and no sign. And I guess if it's going to change to a different speed at Autumn Ridge, were they going to put a sign up at Autumn, when you get to Autumn Ridge, it says it's a different speed because it's still paved beyond Autumn Ridge.
So is it, Neil, do you know, I'm not seeing, it's 35 in that section, and then is the rest of Boundtree 40 or 25?
25
Okay,
from Autumn Ridge out. So
okay.
Right, but there's no speed limit sign other than the one that somebody has graffiti on that's, closer to Pine Street that says 35.
Mhm.
So if it's going to change at Autumn Ridge, no one would know that. But I think more important to me is that there be some kind of sign put up to warn about this curve. I mean, I think having one death was one too many. I mean, there was a cross on the tree for a number of years where a person died. And that wasn't enough to get a sign put up for a curve. Maybe they're very expensive to put a sign like that up, but I think I think the board should consider requiring that a sign be put up.
Thank you for flagging that. I was unaware.
Thank you.
Sure.
So DPW could put up like some sort of, like on Gould Hill, they've got like a square sign that has like the arrow showing that there's a sharp turn. So is that
Yeah, we haven't looked at that.
right? Okay.
This is the first time
Mhm.
that has come up.
Okay.
I don't know what fatal was been,
A few years ago.
but quite a few, I guess.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone online? I don't think we have anyone online.
Here's one.
Is that us?
Question, I think.
Oh. All right, David,
David.
David.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, David Unti, 111 Sugar Hill Road, and I'd like to second everything the gentleman from Sugar Hill Road said. Especially with the commercial trucks, it's, my understanding that because the Ware side can no longer close it down on, or if they don't close it down to trucks, we can't close it down to trucks. Trucks are one thing, but trucks going and tractor trailers going 55, 60 miles an hour down that road. I mean, I've had to step off with my 5-year-old into the drainage ditch just to make sure when you have oncoming traffic. And like he said, they are in the crossing lanes. There's no center line on that road because it's too narrow. There's a very limited shoulder on that road. So if 30 is okay if it's enforced, but nobody does 30 on that road. I mean, they get frustrated when I come from the 202. Under 202, I live 0.2 of a mile from that intersection of exit 5. And then 0.2 of a mile, you have people passing my driveway at 55 miles an hour.
Okay, thank you. But
So I don't, if we keep it 30, or I mean, I know other neighborhoods and other towns utilize speed humps in areas, especially the S turn, before you come into the S turns or around where there's residents. I mean, it's not a highly populated road, but the houses are clustered. So maybe putting something in that forces vehicles to slow down.
are you echoing the person who spoke about Sugar Hill before in terms of you're not requesting a drop to 25, but more just generally about how to deal with the through trucking and any other ways we can slow people down?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just ask a quick question. It sounds like there's a lot of, it seems like a weird place to have a lot of tractor trailers. Do you have any idea of where they're coming or going to?
It's like many of the roads in and out of Hopkinton. They're shortcuts. So they're coming from 77, so they don't have to go down to exit 2, or if they're heading, they want to get north on 89 or head west on 202. They used to have to go down and come up north on 89. Now they can just cut through Sugar Hill, and they have those major interchanges with the highways right there. That, and there's a lot of drunk driving on the road. I invite anybody to come with a stick and a trash bag and look in the drainage ditches. You'll be filling them up with beer cans and bottles. So you've got speed, and then what other things people do when they're out late.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else commenting?
May I speak one thing first also on it? The Ernst View is off on Sugar Hill Road. Years back, we had a no through trucking sign that was put on there. I've come before the board and I've talked to you about it. And it has something to do, I was told, it had something to do with the short piece of road that was rebuilt under the Army Corps of Engineers across Drew Lake, and then also on Stumpfield Road. It was all redesigned back in the 50s on it. And I was told that because there was federal money in there, that we could not put a post to the road for no trucking, no through trucking on it. And as the gentleman said, that it's not just where that we would have to go to the state and have a sign put out on 77 saying that there was no trucking, because if Ware would not back it up, there was no place for them to turn around on Sugar Hill Road. That was 2 years ago, I believe when I came here, and they said they were developing the road committee on it, and I have no idea where they're at or what they're at. They also said they were going to try and get it off of the GPS route on it, and I don't know where that is at it either. But I've stood out there and asked people to slow down. I've been told I was number one, laughed at, gunned the engine going past me. My wife, I don't even pull out of my, when I pull out of my driveway, I don't back out on the road. I pull out, and even then they come down on that road around the corner and they're right on my tail, and they'll go all the way to the stop sign on that. They're just non-courteous people that are doing it, and a lot of it is aware traffic that crosses over from 77 to get into Concord. And I think we need to take control of our roads. It's our tax money. They want to travel it, then they need to follow our rules and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would propose we close the public hearing, and then I think because this is about the speed limit ordinance, we can discuss Pennacook and Dustin. I think there's bigger conversations about signage and safety that are sort of outside the scope of the ordinance discussion, as much as I appreciate them. So I think we can sort of put those in a separate category to discuss. But in terms of the actual ordinance, is everyone good if we close the hearing and then we can talk about those two specific roads? Okay. All right, so closing the hearing. So why don't we start with Pennacook? I think that we should make the change to 25 for the many reasons we've discussed repeatedly here, so.
And again, that I agree, and that change that's up there would do that. It's just confusing the way the ordinance is set up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree. I agree.
It took a while walking through.
It is, yeah, a little confusing. And so then we can have a new sign. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a problem with that piece going down to 25? Okay, so in terms of Dustin.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Stephen.
I was just gonna ask if anybody knew what it was in Henniker, the portion of it that's in Henniker. I'm assuming it's probably
Webster.
or sorry,
Webster and Warner.
Webster.
I think
Do you know?
I think it's 30.
30.
Not sure.
That's what but I could be wrong.
But it doesn't have to be, right? I mean, there's no.
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
but
You're just wondering.
just
Okay.
for consistency.
So
Maybe it isn't posted.
You don't think it changes, nor in Warner when it goes from Webster into Warner.
So I am of the mindset that if you have people who live on a road, this happened, I think it was Farrington Corner, maybe a couple years ago we dealt with. You have people who live on the road saying they don't feel safe on the road, and there's lots of walkers, lots of cyclists. I think we have to have a really compelling reason to not lower it. And I get, the general argument of like, well, people will still go fast. Well, maybe, but if you get even some people slowing down, to me, it's worth it. And I don't see a compelling reason to not lower it there. So I would be in favor of adding Dustin to taking it off 35 and moving it to 30.
I would certainly support that, just from my experience biking on that road.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, that road feels a lot like Briar Hill Road to me. Like a lot of this to me is regardless of what's on the road or how it's being used, it's like keeping things consistent. And if a lot of other roads that have similar characteristic have similar traffic, that makes a ton of sense to me. It makes a ton of sense to move it down to 30.
Yeah, okay,
I agree with everything about this isn't necessarily like a solution
Right,
by
right.
itself, but to start.
yeah. Okay, is everyone, anything else to discuss in the actual ordinance? All right, so I'll move that we adopt the updated ordinance.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. So I think there's a bigger, I mean, we've sort of had some discussions lately about Kentucky Village and crosswalks and sidewalks and don't we have a committee that's supposed to be dealing with roads? No?
We have a roads committee. I couldn't tell you the last time we met.
Okay,
And they really haven't dealt with speed.
okay,
Generally, speed and safety is done through the police.
Yeah,
W.
yeah. I mean, it does seem like, Sugar Hill, I remember the discussion about the challenge where we couldn't do no through trucking because of the lack of turnaround, and if Ware didn't do it, then we couldn't do it. But that's not to say there aren't other things we could do to try to address the speed there. I know we've gotten at least one or maybe two emails about Kentucky Village and people just sort of flying through the intersection there. And where else? Where am I forgetting? Oh, and Broad Cove. There's a very blind driveway where we got the email that someone's cat was killed there. So I'm wondering about the places we know, and sorry, Bound Tree too. If there's an appropriate place to put a sign there, that whether it's like the arrow thing that's like on Gold Hill or something else. So what do people think the most appropriate way to sort of take a holistic view of signs, and then anything else? I know we're looking into, Chief Hennessy was looking into possibly grants for like blinking,
We've submitted.
right?
those.
Okay, awesome. Okay,
I think those are the most effective for speed.
yeah,
Most of the time, we have one police officer on duty.
mhm,
And one police officer cannot be on every road.
Right.
I just want to note that
And it's hard for them to sit in the same place for an hour, right?
yeah,
It's just the fact of the small.
And the other thing I know is we do receive speed grants, but those can only be used on the state highways. So often you will see our cruiser on 202. We're not paying for that. The grant is. I just want to be clear that we don't have our officers sitting on 202 and ignoring the town. That's separate, and they have to be there if they do the grant. So.
Can you speak?
sure, we have not had public forum, so we could do public comment. Sure, yeah, that would help so we can hear.
I'm not, the police department has been excellent with me. They work well. I see them out there. And they are patrolling. They're out there. I talked to the chief, and they sit there, as someone said, can't sit there for an hour. They can't be there all the time. But as soon as somebody goes by them, they see them sitting, they're down the end of the road, they blink the lights on and let them know that the police officer's out there. So like I say, it was not a knock against the police department or whatever, but just what is being done is not working. Was my point.
Mhm.
We didn't take it as a knock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't take it as a knock.
All right, I hope so, because
Yeah.
It'd
they,
be kind of fun to have you out there telling people to slow down and have the cop right after. So focused on you and then the cops got them like that.
but the police department has been out there, they have patrolled it and they have done it. I'm just saying, there is a problem that needs to be addressed. And I don't know the answer to it, and I don't want to micromanage any department or whatever, so, thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't here for the through trucking conversation, so we just can't put no through trucking. Can we do one-way no through trucking? We can't, it just can't.
We went through all that and
No
there
possible.
is an issue with federal funds, but also you can't have trucks come out.
They get out.
Turn around.
No, right.
Mhm.
And the other option is Stumpfield, which is much worse and not safe. And it was clear that that was not a good way to send anyone.
Mhm. Does anyone else want to make public comment about roads or anything else? Oh, yeah.
When when they changed the Indian Ridge to 25, we got the box, the speed limit box.
Mhm.
That's done that you put on like kind of close to Main Street.
That's a good question. I don't know what the schedule is for how they rotate that around.
Yeah, I guess it comes with the change in sign.
Oh,
The
okay.
neighbor says,
Huh, interesting.
when it first started, they put it out there for about a week or so.
Generally, that is a really good way
To let
to let people
that
know
there's a
it's
change.
changed.
Yes, so that will happen.
I would guess it probably will some point. Used in the winter, so it depends how cold it is.
Yeah, I mean, I know right now it's on Booth Hill, so.
Yeah, because there's so much traffic because of the orchard. So one thing I'm recalling, complete streets. I believe Anna spearheaded that.
Yeah,
We can resurrect it
they have
and,
not met in
well, it might be, I can touch base with Anna about potentially resurrecting that and taking a look at Kentucky Village and elsewhere in town.
So do you want me to do that?
No, I will talk to Anna. That I can do.
Oh, I think the appropriate way is for staff to go through.
Oh, okay, then yes, please talk to Anna.
I'm a process person. I
okay.
don't need to-
Economic Development Committee is working on that stuff.
Okay,
I have an update from them on the Hopkinton Village. I think they do have a plan for.
oh, okay. But that's Economic Development Committee, or is
Yeah.
it like Complete Streets Committee within economic?
It might be that.
I think that's complete streets more than economic development.
But they have not met. They met a couple of times way back, but haven't met in a long time. But
Okay.
probably would be a good thing. Either that or a road safety committee or something,
Yeah,
I would say.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is it sounds like Economic Development Committee is starting to take on some of that mantle. So
good, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is like just awareness. It's like, if people don't let DPW know or us know about a spot that should have a sign, then we don't know necessarily. So yes, Neil, thank you. If you'll talk to Anna, that would be great. And I see David's hand is up.
So talk to her about,
Yeah, maybe she could just give us an update on where the Complete Street Committee, like, does that exist anymore?
they haven't met 3, 4,
So
5
maybe-
years, they do not.
So if she has any interest in resurrecting that? maybe,
I'm
or-
not sure in her time frame.
yeah,
I'm
her-
not sure that's the way to go.
I mean, can we just get like the word out, see if we can get everyone to email us signs that need to be fixed? I mean, like, we
It's
can
true.
put a Culver email and just be like, tell us if there's any signs that need to be fixed. It sounds like everyone,
We can look at the signs.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot of ideas that come up, but like there's the one, this person who emailed us about Broad Cove, that apparently there's a sign missing there. And instead of having someone go through every single street, trying to find every single sign. Just get everyone to email us. So
I think what Neil's trying not to say is that the general public's definition of a sign that's no good is way different than David's.
no, totally, but at least you give Dan like a starting point of like, so he doesn't have to drive around. Not every single one of those needs to be fixed or put in or replaced.
Right.
You could just give them a list of things. to Start from.
So maybe Economic Development Committee could be a place to just bring up.
I mean, we have a lot on our plate that we're already dealing with, and that feels a little beyond the purview of
Okay.
economic development. I mean, I think that's DPW, police, this board. And I don't mean to like push back on that, but I mean, we have full agendas that we're struggling to get through, and adding this to it, you know, it just seems a little beyond what.
Or maybe they could at least weigh in on, you know, something that could be done, just their thoughts on it. Maybe the Economic Development Committee doesn't have to take it on per se, but.
I mean, yeah, we can, I mean, I guess,
I can meet with everyone involved and we can come up with a plan to figure out exactly whether we have a committee, a small committee that's the highway safety. Some towns do that, or we can, I think we probably should do something a little formal, but that's probably where that rests.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to like burden anyone with extra work. I'm just trying to figure out a way so it's not like ad hoc. I mean, I'm not against the idea of people like just alerting us and emailing us or emailing you. But if we don't start, I don't know where else exactly to start. If we don't have like an obvious functional roads committee, it sure seems like safety and like being able to walk around Kentucky Village is related to the, you know, well-being of businesses. So it doesn't seem crazy for Economic Development Committee to at least discuss the issue.
I mean, I guess I think it's more appropriate for this board to do it than for economic development, because I think we're more directly charged with the safety of the streets.
Okay,
Traffic
so
public.
do we want to officially somehow invite people to come to us with ideas about places in town that need new signage? Or any other ideas to like get a little like, you know?
I think that needs to be done very clearly, because what's going to happen is people are going to request signs that don't necessarily make sense or can't be done.
Mhm.
And then you opened up this can of worms of, you can't just put signs up everywhere. That just
Right,
is not
so,
effective.
no, I totally get that. I guess I'm just trying to figure out a way to put like a definition around this so that we don't endlessly discuss, you know, having people come in and raise concerns and then we just put it on a list and eventually, I mean, can we put a little like,
Some of those have been addressed and
yes,
not always to people's satisfactions, but
okay, so this board,
so it seems like forming a highway safety committee. I know neighboring towns do that. So I can talk to them and find out how best they do it. It includes,
Is there a reason to form a new committee as opposed to just having the roads committee?
well, the road committee doesn't function.
Road committee hasn't met in, I would say, 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, should we close the roads committee then and have a public highway safety committee? Or like, if we're having, I'm not super excited about having committees that never meet and don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should, they're not doing anything, we should kill
When the
it.
road committee
Do the thing we wanna
functioned, it dealt more with maintenance of roads and things like that. It didn't really deal with the safety.
Right.
But
Okay.
it doesn't mean it couldn't.
Yeah,
work
right.
be reconstituted in that
In
form.
that form.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of logical. I mean, DPW was involved in that committee.
Yeah.
I think I can't even remember the membership, to be honest with you. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Since we met.
so can we resurrect that committee? Is that what we're saying?
Or reform
Or-
it.
Disband and.
Disband and reform.
Disband and reform.
And might want to create a new one.
I'm sure there are people on there that are no longer living.
Can I investigate this and bring something back next time? Because I think you're gonna
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
I think so.
circles, but try out something in writing. and-
Sounds good.
okay, thank you, Neil.
David's hand is still up.
Yes, hello. I just, thank you. I wanted to make the additional comment when the topic of signs came up. On Sugar Hill, I believe there's only 2 30-mile-an-hour mark signs in a almost 3.5, 4 mile stretch from Stump Field to the intersection with, I forget the name, Old Hennecker Road, where the exit comes off 202. And those signs are right at the beginning of those stretches. So there's nothing in the middle where, you know, all the speed is picked up to remind folks that it's only 30 miles an hour. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, so thank you, Neil, for looking into that. I'm happy to be involved in a newly resurrected highway safety committee too. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so anyone else for public forum? Okay. So I think we're in other, I think we've covered signs and other, yes.
Got more
Thomas?
road stuff.
Okay, good.
Quick recap, we had our first Classics Roads Committee last week. It was great. We discussed just criteria for evaluating roads, and then our next Classics Roads Committee is gonna be October 5th, and we're gonna review all of the roads south, all the Class 6 roads south of 202. So new road 1 and 2, Old Irish Hill Road, Old South Road. There's another weird one that I forget the name of, and that's about it. So that's exciting. And then also there's been a long-term DOT plan to work on the interchange here in the village. And then Economic Development Committee has kind of revitalized that. And then the precinct is also helping to work on that. And so that is going to be a trial. It's likely going to start October 16th and run through Halloween, where the sweeping right-hand off is going to get closed down. So everyone has to go to the corner and turn.
So that was the Economic Development Committee that led that?
So it's been like a.
You're gonna say that.
Just checking.
It's been like a slowly, I mean, the precinct's been trying to get it done for ever.
Mhm.
And DOT has made a plan that has never moved forward because of its scale. And it sounds like Economic Development Committee kind of started to look at it and realized it could be possible, push it forward, and then the precinct's been helping to push it forward. And now we're at a place where a trial's gonna happen.
And
Excellent.
just to close the loop, at our last Economic Development Committee meeting, we're trying to have the precinct take the lead because we feel like it's beyond what we're supposed to be doing.
And the precinct is trying to take the lead.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that is going well. And so far, fire, ambulance, and police have all signed off on it. And Chief Hennessy agreed that starting on Sunday the 16th and running through Halloween's a good idea. So hopefully it goes well.
Okay.
That's all I got on roads this way. No more roads.
Anyone have anything else for other? Okay, so we have 2 non-publics, and after that, we will adjourn and not conduct any other business. So will someone make a motion to go into non-public under A32A and then D?
So moved.
All right,
I will second.
all right, that's a roll call. Stephen?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And a yes, Thomas?
Yes.
And Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone who came and commented, and thank you to our one person online, David.